Hey guys, remember the episode 8 on content when we had Ajay, Vijay, Sajith and Vijay Subramaniam? Vijay Subramaniam recommended the LLL Foundation. Today I'm here to spend a day at the Live Love Laugh Foundation, which is led by Anisha Padukone. Hi Anisha, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Welcome to this little vertical from our podcast. I'm here to spend a day with you in this office. Let's get going. Where do we start from?
So, lucky for you, we have something called a history wall. So, December 2014, New Year's Eve, is when Deepika actually put out the first few tweets where she committed herself to mental health. This is the first interview that she did on national television, publicly sharing her story. If we look back now in time, it was probably a watershed moment for mental health in the country. Later on in that year, October 2015, the formal launch of Live Love Laugh Foundation happened in Mumbai. So again, a very, very special moment for Live Love Laugh. Here we have our first ever school program session. This was held at Deepika School, Sophia High School in Bangalore. This was a program where we created awareness on mental health for adolescent students and their teachers. This is from our first rural visit, as Deepika, our founder, and the trustees went to Davangere to commemorate World Mental Health Day in October of 2017.
I see you're only visible in one picture. That's this. Do you consciously stay away from the camera or do you enjoy it?
Not my most preferred place to be. I usually prefer to be behind the camera.
So you're not into the camera life?
Yes, absolutely. Except for this interview.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for doing this. In the podcast and during episode 8, your NGO has won an amount of 75 lakh rupees.
So let's say between 75 lakhs to a crore for this particular session.
I'm here to congratulate you and get to know more about the NGO. So to begin with, what does LLL do? Now, our audience wants to go from 0 to 1 with you.
Great. So firstly, a big thank you to Nikhil, to the whole team at the podcast. I think this was a good concept. It helps NGOs grow and scale. Also, big thank you to all the panelists. Vijay, of course, for nominating us. Mr. Sajith, Mr. Vijay, and Nikhil as well. Very, very kind of all of them. Coming to your question of what is LLL and what do we do? Live Love Laugh actually started as a result of our founder, Deepika's personal experience with anxiety and depression. That whole journey led her to experience and believe two things based on her experience. Primarily that India had a severe lack of awareness when it comes to mental health. And secondly, that there's a lot of stigma associated with mental illness, particularly in our country. And she wanted to be able to address that in a sort of a systematic and a sustainable manner. And therefore, she founded Live Love Laugh to be able to sort of channelize her efforts. And of course, Live Love Laugh is the vehicle for that. When we started out, the sort of core belief with which she started the organization is that no life should be lost due to mental illness. India has one of the highest rates of suicide in the world. So to be able to make a difference, in that's really the core belief with which we started off. But our vision is really to be able to give hope to people experiencing stress, anxiety, and depression, particularly at times where there is no hope.
So I'll give you an example. I'll give you my example when I was reading about everything you guys do. I come from a tier 1 city. I grew up in like Pune, and it's still very tough for me to have a discussion about mental health with my parents. Talking about depression, anxiety. I still cannot explain to my mother that this is PTSD that you're going through. Something on those lines.
Sure.
I still struggle with that. So when you reach out to such a wide audience in India that is so diverse, how do you tackle this diversity? How do we
go about it?
Go about it, yes.
Sure. So we focus on 3 key areas, and we like to call them the 3 A's, right? So the first A is awareness. The second A is accessibility, and the third A is affordability. All of our programs and initiatives fall under these 3 buckets. Everything that we do. If it doesn't, we don't do it, right? Okay. So makes it simpler. Coming to your specific question of how do we tailor certain programs or initiatives, it depends on primarily the sort of the target audience, and therefore then you use the right vehicle, the right medium to reach that target audience. So if we take, you for example, you are a typical, urban dweller, born and brought up. You're probably a consumer of social media, as we all know, we're watching this on social media. So for us, the best way to reach out to you would be digital mediums. And therefore, the way you consume social media would be a way in which that we would reach out to you. Having said that, if we have to reach 45-year-old man in rural India, obviously social media is not going to be the route. So it's important to understand your target audience. Yeah. It's important to understand sort of the resources that you have available to you, and then tailor your interventions accordingly.
If you could tell me about the challenges you faced in reaching out to the rural area, because I feel like Pune, Bombay, Bangalore has enough people talking about it and there's a discussion around it. But how do you reach out to rural India? How do you reach out to somebody in a village and be like, okay, here's how we're going to help you out. But when you don't even know that you're going through this, you're not able to navigate and understand this is the problem. What is the challenge that you face?
When it comes to rural India, mental illness is not understood similar to urban India. It's challenging because there's a lot of belief in faith healers, in black magic, and the likes, right? Typically, the instances of mental illness are a lot more severe. You will have people showing, aggressive behavior, for example. We have a lot of beneficiaries who, because of that behavior, end up getting chained to their bed or to a tree. You have to tackle it in a community-based way, which is why our rural program is actually a community-based model. Rather than looking at it individualistically, we look at it as how can we support, how can we make aware, how can we empower the larger community.
We interviewed other NGOs as well, and we did Shukla Boss recently. So the kind of impact they're trying to build is she runs a school, she's getting the kids to grow up, go to colleges. That's the kind of impact that you can visually see. Okay, so it kind of, you can show it.
Yeah.
But when I have to ask you about your achievements, okay, when you've been running this program, how would you narrate that to me? Like, what's the one thing that you think has been the most fulfilling as a landmark achievement during your 8-year journey?
I think, I mean, with 8 years, it's difficult to pick one or two. I would categorize them into maybe 2 or 3 buckets, right? I think individuals who sort of see that transformation in their own life from the kind of work we do, whether rural, whether urban, and there's millions of people out there. We are fortunate as a team when we sort of step out, people come up to us and recognize the efforts and the work that's going in. For me, that is probably the biggest achievement. It could be any of the team members, it could be any of the board members who are approached by, an unknown person to say that I was going through something extremely difficult. This was my situation, and that's where Live, Love, Laugh came in and helped me, right? So that is a measure of success. Or similarly, in our rural programs, some of the beneficiaries, some of the stories that are coming out of those programs as well, those are sort of transformational in a similar way. So these are the stories that I would actually classify as success stories, as opposed to awards or other recognition.
Yeah. So the episode you won an amount of 75 lakh rupees. Just to get an idea, how does this help your vision grow?
This year in particular, we have decided to scale our rural mental health program. We've been running it since 2016. The model itself is quite set, which allows us to really scale this year. And therefore, when this poll came up and we put sort of our heart and soul into it, that's really what we're going to be using the funds for. Yeah, so primarily just scaling of the rural program in different ways.
Well, I guess that's about it. More power to you. All the best. Have you watched the podcast?
Yes, I do. I have watched the podcast. Not just this.
Do you have a favorite episode?
I quite like the one with Kiran. Apart from being on your podcast, also sits on our board as a trustee. So maybe there's a little bit of a bias there. That was probably my favorite episode.
Nice. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Hi guys, thank you so much for watching this video. We've been putting in a lot of effort for WTF and all the verticals around it. When you subscribe to our channel, it is a validation and metric for us to know that we've been doing a good job. So please subscribe and let us know. Thank you so much.